In this lesson, we're going to talk about virtues and character strengths and how they can play out in our life. I'm going to do a little bit of introduction about the virtues, and then we're going to talk about universal virtues that everyone needs to tap into, and then your unique virtues. And we'll have a little homework assignment. So Abraham Maslow developed the theory of the hierarchy of human needs. And it's the concept, if you remember from school, it's a big pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid is your basic needs for being a human. Um, Food, water, oxygen, etc. And then it moves up to safety, and it goes up from there into our relationships and all that. And then at the very top is self-actualization, becoming what you were meant to be, what, the optimal person that you were created to be. And one of his quotes was, what one can be, one must be. It's the concept that we're all driven to become the best version of ourselves. It's the concept of flourishing. So a virtue is a character strength. There's a mean between a vice of deficiency and a vice of excess. So, for example, the character strength of courage, if you lack courage and you have a vice of deficiency, you would be a very fearful person, maybe a coward, somebody who can't do what they need to do because fear is stopping them. And then the vice of excess is someone who's reckless. They have not only courage, but kind of like courage with no common sense. They're brazen, they're brash, kind of crashing through life without thinking about what they're doing. And the mean between those is what we would call courage. Science says the happiest among us engage in these 5 virtues most consistently: gratitude, hope, curiosity, zest, and love. And we're going to talk about those a little bit deeper. So, gratitude. There's research by Dr. Robert Emmons, let me credit him appropriately, that keeping a gratitude journal just once a week for 6 to 8 weeks, capturing 5 things you're grateful for, can change your happiness rating by 25%. People in the group that kept the gratitude journal slept 30 minutes more per day and exercised 33% more than the group that was not keeping the gratitude journal. Simple weekly practice. I recommend you keep a gratitude journal every day, but this study was like minimal level. If people practice gratitude weekly, does it make a difference? And it was a resounding yes. The opposite of being grateful is someone who is entitled. It's taking things for granted. It's not recognizing that really none of this is owed to us. Um, Self-actualized people, flourishing people are grateful. The next virtue is hope. So the idea of hope includes the concepts of having a goal, having agency, and having multiple pathways. So in other words, we have a vision for a better future, that a belief that things can be better than they are. Agency is the belief that you have the ability to get there. And then pathways is recognizing that there's multiple ways to get there. It's not just one. Um, Sometimes your hope can be dashed when you are following a path and you think that's the only way to get to the goal. And then for some reason, the rug's pulled out from under you and you can't accomplish it that way. And you get this sense that it's hopeless now. Um, so true hope, there's multiple pathways. We can see that we might have to try a plan B, a plan C, a plan D to get there. So the deficiency of this virtue is hopelessness, and then excess would be magical thinking, over optimism, not taking reality in mind. One tool you can use to develop hope and to be realistic, to make sure you're in that kind of mean between the excess and the deficiency, is to use a tool called WOOP, WOOP, and it stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. So you have the goal you want to go for. You list the outcomes, like what's going to happen if you reach that goal. Why would you want to reach that goal? Kind of flesh it out. And then you rub it up against reality. So you're going to look at your obstacles. What are the things that could keep you from getting there? And then you make a plan. It's probably going to take multiple facets of the plan, in other words, multiple pathways to deal with those obstacles. The next virtue is zest. It's not a word we use very often, especially to describe a virtue. You know, sometimes I might describe a food as zesty, um, but it's the number one virtue most highly correlated with our well-being. It's energy. If I ask you, how is your energy today? That would be a measure of your zest. The important part of this is our physiology, how we feel in our bodies drives your psychology, how you feel emotionally. Interesting fact, your gut produces 90% of your serotonin. So your serotonin, your hope hormone, comes from mainly your gut. So the importance of, when we go back to the foundations of a flourishing nurse, eating, moving, sleeping, taking care of those things drives your well-being, drives your zest. A deficiency of zest would be lethargy, and the excess would be not being grounded, being over energized, a tendency to kind of fly away. Zest is a properly grounded person who's also buoyant. It's kind of like that tension between flying away and being totally grounded where you can't do anything. Properly grounded and buoyant is zest. And then curiosity, virtue of curiosity. I've never, until I started doing some studying, I never thought of curiosity as a virtue. But it's someone who's curious is someone who's open to life's experience, like the little girl in the picture, the scientist who's looking at things with a magnifying glass. You want to see data as awesome, even data that isn't going the way that you want it. You want to approach that with a flashlight or a magnifying glass, not a hammer. Sometimes we approach our data with shame and disappointment, and we're not going to learn anything tapping into those emotions. We want to take a magnifying glass, put on a lab coat, look for what is working, what in this is working, and what needs work. What do I need to change, or what do I need to shift, or what do I need to do more of? And then realize no one is perfect, and we want to approach obstacles and mistakes with curiosity. A deficiency of curiosity would be an unwillingness to even look at the data, to numb yourself out without, you just don't want to deal with it anymore. And then the vice of excess would be obsession, perfectionism, ruminating on every single mistake. That's never going to get us where we want to go. And then I want to talk about love. We can extend love in every micro moment of interactions in our life. So we all think about love when we say, who do you love? You have some family members, you have some close friends that you would name, but we want to practice love in every area of our lives, even with the people that are difficult, or maybe people you only have a minor interaction. You know, what is a loving thing to do in line at the grocery store? How can we treat people? How do we talk to people? It all starts with love for yourself, not in a prideful sort of way or a self-absorbed sort of way, but it's kindness for yourself and caring for yourself. We have to have that foundation, where our own needs are taken care of, to be able to hit that self-actualizing or flourishing point of that pyramid. So look at, what do you do when you're at your best? What practices? I know when I eat, move, and sleep properly, I am more mentally ready to love other people. So we want to, then that love extends to the obvious people around us, but then we want those micro moments of positivity even further out. I want you to be able to, when you're at the end of the day reflecting on your gratitude or reflecting on what went well, think of interactions you've had with other people. How did you encourage other people? How did they encourage you? Being mindful of all those moments. And at work, I really want you to love your work. I, I don't know how many people I'm speaking to that maybe are hating their jobs, but if you can make the connection between what you do and the people you're serving, it increases the love you will feel for your job. It doesn't mean that there's not tough things in the job or things that need to be worked out. But interesting little experiment they did. It's not really an experiment, but an interesting story is they took some tomato pickers, a group of people whose job was just to pick tomatoes, and they gave them information that connected them to the people that they were serving, the people who would later eat the tomatoes, the people who were making a living from selling tomatoes. They connected what they did every day to how it affected other people, to the children that would eat the food and be nourished by it. And without doing anything else in that group of people, their tomato picking went up 7%. Just that sense of being connected to people they were serving instead of, how hard their job was or how hot it was or whatever they had previously thought about their jobs. Just that little bit of shift in their thinking um, made them better at what they do. Think about how you can apply that in your own job. How can you connect with love to the people that you're serving? So that's the group of universal virtues that are associated with well-being. You also have unique virtues that you're already the strongest in, your character traits that you're already operating in. And I would love for you to go to viacharacter.org and take the little quiz. And what it's going to do is take 24 virtues and rank it in order for you. Like there are multiple different, like thousands of ways that people express their virtues differently, and you're going to see your unique virtues. So I want you to take the test, and then I want you to print your results. It's free. They will offer you some in-depth lessons and other things you can buy on the website, but you don't have to buy any of it. Just save and print your virtues and look at your top 5. What are your top 5 unique virtues? I want you to avoid the temptation of focusing on the last page for your lower scoring virtues. Everybody's interested in seeing that, and sometimes when you read it, it might be a little bit like, like what that, you know, it, some people I've seen even get a little bit sad, and the tendency is to want to bring those up, but you want to operate in your strengths. And honestly, if you get better at your strengths, it pulls all the rest up. You help all the other virtues. Trying to operate in the virtues that you're at the bottom of the list is just going to drive you crazy. It's not going to be as successful as operating in what's already identified to be your strength. The interesting thing about the quiz is at different points in your life, you might answer the questions differently, and it's going to kind of shuffle which are your current top 5. So if you take it in 5 years after doing a lot of personal growth, they may be different. Number 1 might be number 5, and number 7 might now be number 2. I don't want you to stress about that. Just get the list, get your top 5. And then we're going to bring them to life. We're going to take opportunities to be intentional today. Think about your top 5 each day. If you keep a journal, write them in your journal. Review them every day and reflect on your intention. How am I going to operate in hope or curiosity or whatever's up there in your top 5? How do I act that out in my day? Your infinite potential is just outside your comfort zone. Using your virtue strengths can encourage you to step into that discomfort zone, and you will find growth and flourishing. You want to bring it on. In other words, how can I step into more of what I'm already strong in to grow, to self-actualize, to flourish, to love my job, to love the people around me? So your homework is to take the quiz, reflect daily on how you're going to be intentional in living out your virtue strengths. Then at the end of the day, I want you to reflect on them. Ask yourself the question, what went well? What did you learn? And what will you adjust for tomorrow? I hope this was helpful. I would love for you to shoot me an email or pop it in the comments and let me know what are your virtue strengths and how is gaining that knowledge or focusing on the 5 universal strengths going to change how you walk out your days. Thank you.